Welcome to another episode of the Higher Level podcast. So this evening on the show, joining me as always is James Doolan. And we have a special guest this evening, Richard Shaky Shore. How are you doing, Richard?
I've not been called special before, apart from behind closed doors. So. Nice to see you, lads. You doing all right?
Doing good. Well, obviously, we were having a wee chat off camera a bit about, like you said, you just moved into a bigger facility there, and then obviously you're into the new facility, and not long after, the world goes to shit almost. How stressful a time has this been for you?
It's it couldn't have come at a worse time. I mean, we invested financially a lot of money into it, a lot of time into it. We opened up on the 1st of November, and the momentum just took straight off. Our Jack was coming off the back of a good win in Copenhagen, so that obviously helped the cause when you open a new gym, particularly in a close-knit community like where we are from. Absolutely flying. We'd trebled the membership. We particularly in March, all systems go after Christmas. We've always had a good team, but we finally had like a world-class environment for the guys to train in, all under one roof. And as you said, the world goes crazy, and we had fights lined up for Cage Warriors and the UFC them following weeks, and all of a sudden then we're closed, and so we can't open anymore. And what can you do? It's the same for everybody. It's just one of those things. We just got to ride it out.
And you've also got not just a added stress of a gym owner with a nice new gym, obviously Cage Warriors Academy as well, just to pile on the extra stress.
Yeah, well, we had they closed us down on, I think there was a week beginning. Edwards fought on that behind closed doors event in Manchester. So I think it was like the Wednesday in Wales, the Wednesday before they actually closed all the gyms down. And then we were due to, we'd sold out as well. We had a Cage Warriors Academy show. Every ticket was sold out. Brilliant fight card. I think it was 19 fights. And we had that pulled at a week's notice as well. So, March 2020 will be remembered for all the wrong reasons.
That's it. It's the timing of it. I mean, I guess there wouldn't have been a good time for anything like this to happen, but it's now just that waiting for that point where you can sort of open up again. It's kind of, what's the situation in Wales? Obviously, I know Scotland, we're a bit different to England. We're a bit behind everything in England.
We're the same as you guys. We're still on full lockdown. We're not allowed within 5 miles. We can't venture out any further than 5 miles from the house is the rule of thumb at the moment.
Actually, sounds like you might be a bit behind us even.
Yeah, I think we probably are. Again, it's it seems we like you guys. We've got an independent. We got the Welsh Assembly down with us.
Yeah,
and it's a mainly. I'm not into politics. I don't want to get into politics, but it's a mainly Labour-based area of being in Wales, and it seems to be like as if they use it for scoring points for the Tory government. I mean,
it's the same.
Yeah, it's the same up with you, James. Yeah,
exactly the same. It's almost like now they're using it to push a second referendum for the independence vote, and it's almost like to hell with the consequences, everyone else financially and stuff like that. But I think I've noticed a big difference up here since the protests and stuff like that. People just seem to be almost not going back to normal and stuff, but they don't seem to care anymore. It seemed like you can almost draw a line since those protests happened last week, where people didn't want to group up and stuff, and there were kind of times where people were getting the finger pointed at them if they did group up outside, but then after the protest, everybody's just like, oh, fucking hell. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And how can you argue it? Because, as you've just said with the protests, it seemed to be like the police allowed it, the government allowed it. I mean, for me, I would have put my foot down as a Prime Minister gone, anybody caught in these protests, you're going to be arrested because you're breaking the fundamentals of the social distancing. If it's that important, it's got to be across the board, mate. But, going back to the Welsh Assembly, I mean, I live in a place, my borough is called Blaenau Gwent, and if you Google it, you'll see we got like the highest unemployment in the UK. I think is a place from Scotland, believe it or not, is one one above us on the poverty levels. And this is just going to smash our community. We get no investment anyway, but with this lockdown, like a lot of local businesses where I live, just, literally half a mile up the road, are starting to board the windows up and empty the shops because it's done them already within 3 months.
Yeah.
I think we've reached a point in this where the fear of the lockdowns overtook the fear of the virus. That's what it feels like to me now.
Yeah,
so we've hit that switch.
Yeah, I agree.
And you were saying as well, obviously, Jack, successful debut in the UFC, went very well for him. Had another fight lined up. As you were saying before, Richard, that he was looking great, the best he's looked to you. And how frustrating was that for him, that fight obviously falls through? Yeah, he's kind of left in limbo a bit.
I think James will testify to this. There's nothing worse than a fighter putting all that sacrifice in for a 10, 12-week camp and then for it to be ripped away at 6 days' notice, On the biggest stage as well. There's the financial implications. He spent a lot of money on that camp leading up to the 10 weeks, between training, nutrition, coaching and all the rest of it. And it's like he doesn't seem to have any luck, Jack, when it comes to putting a run together. I mean, we go back to the Cage Warriors days. He was due to fight for a world title in September. Opponent pulled out 24-hour notice due to medical reasons, so he had to change of opponent, had to go up and wait, no fight. Then when we signed for the UFC, there was, I don't know if we had so many obstacles with the medical. We had a medical come back, and the report said that he'd had an heart attack. So, genuinely, it said, he's suspected heart attack. We're like, bloody heart attack. He's as fit as a fiddle. But what it was, when we went and seen this a proper specialist that deals in, he was saying it's quite a normal thing where people panic. I think that the readings are in line with a heart attack because he's so fit, the heart is not beating like a regular person.
Yeah.
So we had to pay nearly like £1,000 for this consultant, a specialist, to get the medical signed off and get into the UFC. Then there was, I think it was 3 changes of opponents with the UFC, and then we finally had the opponent locked down. I think it was a 4 weeks notice, which isn't ideal. As you know, James, when you're making a UFC debut, it's nice to have a bit of background and put some training together as a team around that opponent. But it's just one of them things. He's a laid back kid. It just rolls off him, to be honest. He deals with it. He's back in camp now, and hopefully in 4 weeks we'll get a chance for him to get his second win there.
Yeah, that's absolutely it. When it's situations as well that are out with your control, it's a good attitude or a mindset to have that Jack's got. He is laid back, because it's probably not going to do you any good just stressing out all the time and worrying about things you can't do anything about.
Yeah, you can't do anything about it, can we? So it's a case of he's got an old head on young shoulders, to be fair to him, and he deals with it as it comes. What will be, as we say. So
is it safe to say, do you get a bit more stressed out than Jack, or both he's nice and laid back?
No, my stress. I'm a little bit OCD with things as well. I like a structure. I like to have things planned and in place, and I can't be dealing with this. It fries my brain a little bit.
And I think the other thing, James, you were going to what to talk about is that father and son relationship, coach and fighter.
I've got a couple of questions, man. It's stuff that I've been thinking about the last couple of days. The first one is just, you obviously see a lot of kids, like boys, not coming to the gym with their dads, and so you'll see stuff like some of the kids want it more, and sometimes you'll see like the father pushing them into it and stuff like that. But I've got boys myself, and I know for a fact the oldest one, he trained a little bit when he was a kid. He kind of guillotined a wee boy at school once, and then that was him. He was like done training. He was like, I've got to move. That's me. Now when they come in the gym, I don't know about the other ones, but with Jack, was it like something? I'm a big fan of him, man. I love watching him fight back when he was an amateur and stuff. Is it just something that he's always wanted to do? And then how is it for you working with your son? Because I get stressed working with my normal fighters. I'm more nervous cornering a fighter than I ever was fighting. And when you get so close to them as well. But whenever I look at my boys, I'm like, and they're still pretty young, but I was like, I couldn't do that. I couldn't.
It does take its toll on me. Generally, I don't think he's ever had a fight where I've not come down ill for a couple of weeks after, like flu, chest infection. I think the entire situation takes over my immune system, and also. But if we start then, how did he start training? I've never pushed him into it. He was doing kickboxing, and then like I was training jiu-jitsu a lot and doing MMA myself. And he started saying, he started coming along to some of the adult classes at the gym that I was training at the time. Then, like 2008, I went on my own and started my own club. And he turned up every night. But I used to encourage him, James, to do other things. Like he played football on a Sunday for the Sunday football team.
Yeah.
Then he wanted to give rugby a crack. I took him down. He was a good rugby player. He played rugby for a couple of years. He captained the local side for 2 years. And if I'm honest with you, I'd have been just as happy if he'd gone into, or more happy, because it does stress me out. I'm proud of him and great what he does, but it's not a natural relationship for a father to watch his son go and fight. I say this to a lot of people in interviews I've done. A father's role is to protect their kids. And you feel so vulnerable because he's going out there, and what can you really do about it apart from give cornering and give advice on the side? So it is psychologically, it takes its toll on me a little bit. It's something I've never pushed him into. And if the Jack Show was on Fire documentary we done a few years ago, I say it on there. He'd won the British Open. He was playing rugby at a decent level, and he just says to me, "Look, I just want to be really good. I want to be really good at one thing, and fighting is what I enjoy doing more than most." And he was around a lot of guys at the time. Marshman was just coming through, Chris Edwards, Martin McDonough at the time.
Yeah.
And he looked at them like big brothers. So I can put on that and say, no once have I ever even like had to encourage him to go training. It's just something that he's decided to do. So he's got older, and probably when he was like 15, I had a feeling at 15, I was like, he was carrying a bit of puppy fat, he was chubby, but he was as fit as a flea, and he was absolutely handling grown men that had 10, 15 kilograms on him. And even at that time I thought, he's got the potential to be as good as he wants. But I say to him, I remember his first amateur fight, and I'm trying not to cry in the corridor as we're going out, and I'm not embarrassed to say that's exactly how I felt. It was like my nerves were shot. I could feel myself welling up. There was a bit of panic kicking in with me, my missus will kill me if something happens to him as well. That was a bit of added pressure. But he's gone out, he's flown. I think he won in like 2 minutes, and that was just the start of where he set off. The worst pressure I found was the title fights on the Cage Warriors, because I knew it was like a lifelong dream for him to get into the UFC. And being in the game, James, if he takes that one loss on a Cage Warriors title fight, he's back to the drawing board. His 4 or 5 fights he's got to put together to get that UFC dream. And we turned them down on 3 occasions already. So there was a lot of pressure building. Yeah. And I think more so the Malone fight than when he actually won the title, because, we both made our mind up. We wanted to cement his place in Cage Warriors by defending the title before he signed. And there was a lot of pressure. But I found the UFC experience much easier. It was like, I don't know if it took the weight off me a little bit. He's done it. He's achieved his first goal of getting into the UFC, and took the pressure off a little bit, particularly as well after the win. So it was a bit more enjoyable.
That's cool, man. It looks like you'd have found this with your academy and stuff, but the kids that get forced into it with their dads don't hang about long.
I have a lot of... I fell out with so many people, James, where I pulled a parent in at the end of a lesson. Well, listen, your lad or your daughter, they're not enjoying this. It's not fair for you to keep dropping them off for an hour at a time. They're upset, they're on the side. And I've made that call a few times above a parent, and I've stopped kids training, because I don't think it's fair on the kid, and I've been criticised in the community about it, but that's just my take on it. I run the biggest gym in the area, and I've never forced my son to go and train. I just don't think it's right that kids should come into that environment, and a gym's quite an intense environment, even at the kids' class. I've got some really competitive 12, 13-year-old kids there, and the last thing you want is somebody that doesn't want to be there in that environment being forced to grapple with these lads. I don't think it's right.
Yeah, it's no good, man. The second thing, the other thing I was wanting to speak to you about, Jack, was because I know he was, as an amateur, involved with IMAF, and he done really well at IMAF and stuff. We've been speaking with Mark Goddard and stuff, trying to sort something for Scotland in terms of an IMAF team moving forward. It's to go on about the path he's took. So he's been recognised as the best amateur at his weight in the UK, really successful at the IMAFs and stuff, and then he's come through the regional scene on the Cage Warriors, the biggest show in Europe, world champion, defended his belt to the UFC. It's the perfect path for a young fighter to develop. And you see these other guys that try to pad records and stuff. So by the time Jack was fighting for the title at Cage Warriors and then the UFC debut, everybody who knows about how he came through that route was like, it's no surprise that he was winning and performing really well, man. It's like a model. I think it's a model I would like to use for some of my students, to be honest.
Yeah, I say to everybody, I use the term apprenticeship all the time. It's everything about it. I mean, the IMAFs was a great thing for him because it gave you a good idea of his level of whether he was ready to go pro, you know. And as an amateur, he was fighting same day weigh-ins at the IMAFs, 70 kilograms, so at lightweight. Yeah. So he was weighing in a little bit under, but it meant that there was no weight cutting because you've got to fight several times. The one thing about the IMAFs is that you don't know who you're fighting. Like, you know, even on Cage Warriors, I'll say to you, James, well, if you've got somebody who wants to fight one of my lads at 61 kilogram, you can look on the internet, you can find some fights on them these days. The difference with the IMAFs, you don't know until the day who you're fighting. Yeah. So you can't do any, you know, you can research a group of guys, but there's 30 odd people in that division. You just don't know who you're going to fight. So you are fighting the best of the best, and you've got to adapt. So it was a really good, a real like pressure cooker situation. And I say to everybody, it was probably one of the best learning curves he had as a young fighter, was to fight 4 times in 3 days against opponents with no knowledge of who they are, where they were from, what their background was. You know, you'd be up against a striker on the Thursday, on the Friday, you'd be fighting a Bulgarian wrestler that was like a European champion. Then on the Friday, you'd be fighting a JiuJitsuist from John Kavanagh's. You know, there's no pattern where you can think, right, you can even guess who you'll fight, because you don't know until the day who you're fighting. The only criticism I do have is an expensive tournament. So, like where I come from, I've probably got 4 or 5 kids in now that I honestly believe would be world champions if they entered the IMAF juniors, as the 18 to 21s. But we just can't afford to send them, you know, particularly if it's in Bahrain or whatever. It's, you know, it's costing some of these kids $1.5 grand. Now, some of the kids I'm dealing with, their parents can't afford to pay for them to come train, so I'll let them train for free. So we're never going to get that sort of funding. Hence why I've really pushed, you know, when I got on board with Graham and Ian with Cage Warriors, I wanted a big amateur scene in Wales so that, you know, the blood, not just from my gym, from all the gyms, and give them a real good experience. And again, going back to Jack, he's, as an amateur, he fought on some big shows like Pain Pit, which is your Cage Warriors Academy now. So he was used to fighting in front of 1,000 people. And then he done the apprenticeship, right? And I felt Ian and Graham got him the right matches. It was every fight he had on Cage Warriors, I felt it was a step up, you know. Yeah. And, you know, for me, I think the defining fight was the Vaughan Lee one. When they offered us Vaughan, you know, anybody knows Vaughan, he's capable on his day of beating anybody. He's a southpaw. He'd had more fights than he, yeah, definitely, mate. Fit, strong, very unorthodox. He's not somebody you could bring in sparring partners to mimic either, you know. Yeah. And he'd had more fights in the UFC than Jack had pro fights at the time. And I just felt that was a real career-defining fight for him, in as much as I think a lot of people sat there and thought, hang on, the kid is the real deal. Do you know what I mean? He is capable of going places.
Yeah, I remember that fight. I fought Vaughan at Cage Gladiators back in the day, and I know he's very good, man. And then he obviously went into the UFC and beat Kid Yamamoto and stuff like that. And Jack just dominated him. He just like didn't let him use any of that tricky stuff. He never falled for any of his wee tricks, and it was super impressive, man. It was really cool to watch. Yeah, it was a good fight. It set us back a bit because he broke his hand in the first round. UFC came in and made an offer after that fight, which we couldn't take because he'd had a broken hand. He was then going to fight he was scheduled to fight Brian Bouland in Belgium for the world title after that fight. Again, we had to withdraw from that one because of the break. But yeah, it was a good fight, and it did him the world of good as well. You know, because he was a bit of a fanboy of Vaughan as well. You know, he tells everybody that the first UFC event we went and watched together, me and him, Vaughan was on the card. Yeah, it's always good to get that UFC veteran kind of ticked off on your record, man. Yeah, I agree, 100%. We had the same with Stevie when he fought Kurt Warburton. Yeah, it was like, I've beat a guy who's been in the UFC now, so it's good for their kind of self-belief and stuff. Where was the Kurt Warburton fight to? What show was that? Stevie fought him 3 times. He fought him in Bama. And it was earlier in Stevie's career. He'd only been training with us for a bit, and he lost on points, and then he fought on Cage Warriors. Up in London, wasn't it? We were on the same card. I think Martin McDonough fought... did Alex Enland on the same card, I think? Yeah, it was the Super Saturday thing with the 2 cards. Rosie Sexton fought Joanna, didn't she, on there? Yeah, we were on the same card, I remember that. Yeah, we had Turner and Graham Turner fought and Martin Delaney fought as well. But so Stevie had beat him the second time, like, narrowly, and then it was one each. And then the last time he stopped Kurt in the third round. Like, so he was just growing in confidence for hanging with this guy who's obviously he's a really good fighter. But it was a good test for him. I think that's when he knew he was he could do well in the UFC after that.
I think Cage Warriors gives these lads a real platform. I got a young kid with me, Oban Elliott. He's 3-0. He's a really, really talented kid. He's only 22 though, you know. And he's one of these lads, I honestly believe that if I put him into the UFC now, he'd hold his own. He'd have no problems in going in and winning fights. But, you know, I'm forever reining back. But I keep saying to him, the importance for me, it's not just the fight itself, and it's the dealing with the media, you know. The pressure that Jack had for 3 fights, walking out in front of 4,500 fans where everyone in that building is expecting you to win. So you're not fazed by the big show then. Like, we walked out in Copenhagen, there was 10,000 people there, and it didn't feel any different to when we were walking out in the ice arena in Cardiff. If anything, there was less pressure. We were the first fight on. We weren't the home fighter fighting as the main event. Yet he wasn't starstruck in any way, and the apprenticeship had been served, and all these things that Cage Warriors provided with. And I don't think there's a big gap now between the level either, James. I don't think the guys outside of the top 15 in the UFC, there's not a big gap between those guys and the Cage Warriors guys now, in my opinion, anyway.
No, definitely. I think it's been like that for a while as well. Like the standard of fights at Cage Warriors was always. Ian Dean does a great job matching there. Like, I think he's very underrated. And I think that if you do well at Cage Warriors, you're generally going to do pretty well in the UFC.
Yeah, I was chatting about 2 weeks ago with Dan Hardy about Ian, and the two of us were saying that, you know, Ian, I think, could probably drop into Sean Shelby or McMahon's job and wouldn't miss a beat either. The quality of the fights, because he's got a real knack, Ian, of, like, sometimes he'll match a fight, and I mean, Dan were both saying the same thing, where you think, I don't know why he's matched that. And then when you watch the fight, you think, now I understand why. He can see things in fighters as well. And what they do well as well, and they did it for Jack, you know, they bring in the foreign fighters as well. So you're used to fighting somebody you're not familiar with, and they bring you up a step at a time. They do a great job with promoting their champions, I believe, and setting them up ready for that UFC deal.
Yeah. See something you were saying there about obviously getting fighters into the UFC at the right time. Is that something that's really, you feel is really important? Because there's a lot of examples of guys that, like Brendan Loughnane springs to mind. He was in the UFC early, things didn't work out for him, and sometimes you only get that one shot in the UFC. Is that something you're really conscious of? Yeah,
I mean, once you're cut from the UFC, and I think James will agree with it, it's really tough to get back in. You know, it's I always say to all my guys, when you go in there, you've got to be ready to stay. You know, you want to be ready to stay and compete at that level. So, you know, like the first opportunity we had to sign, Jack was 3-0 as a pro, and there was a short notice pull out on the island card that Marshman and Brett Johns made their debut on, and they contacted us and asked about Jack signing a 4-fight deal, and you can imagine Jack's excited and all the rest of it, but it wasn't the right time. He'd have gone in, probably won one, lost one, would have been out, and then you've got a real job then getting yourself back in. For me, I like people say to me, "Oh, what if he'd lost a couple of fights after that?" Well, he wasn't ready for the UFC. So, you know, get it right. Make sure that when you go in, you know, how many fights has Stevie had, James, now in the UFC?
11. He's on his 4th contract.
You know, because you've done it right. All those fights on BAM, all the fights on Cage Warriors. He's gone in. He's not phased, and he's going in, and he's been a brilliant competitor for him.
Yeah, is there something to... Sorry, on you go, James.
We've done the same with Danny. It was always like, I think people want to get there, but it's not getting there that counts. It's staying there, especially if they're doing it for financial reasons. You're not going to make a lot of money unless you can get further down the line. So we were the same with Danny. The experience in Africa, done really well. He had 8 fights in like 2 years there. Yeah, facing similar to Jack, like getting different opposition. He was facing good wrestlers, good strikers, and good athletes and stuff. And then the same way with Joanne when we were at Invicta before UFC took it over. So she was already kind of hanging with like the best girls there. But the goal was always, it wasn't getting to the UFC so much as staying there. And sometimes you need to fight certain fights certain ways like that with the pressure. I think we had an instant before with Stevie where he'd lost 2 fights in a row and he had to go to Canada and fight Jess Nayari, and you're going into that fight thinking you could pretty much fight exciting here and maybe lose and get cut, or you can fight pretty safe and just get back on track, and it just affects the dynamics of shit. But it's exactly what you said, man, getting in at the right time and stuff. A lot of coaches, if UFC come in and Jack's 3-0 and it's not you that's looking after him, they'll blow off.
They would jump. Yeah, they would jump.
Yeah,
they
don't care. They don't think about the long term, the long kind of game.
Yeah.
How difficult is it for a fighter as well if they get into the UFC and do get cut? Obviously, it's difficult to get back in, but mentally that must be tough. Going for the UFC back down into the regionals to then know you need to fight your way back up. That's got to be mentally draining and affect a fighter also.
It takes a special type of character, I think, isn't it? You know, it's you're going back to fighting on the regional shows. The money's not the same. You're not getting the. You've got to be a dedicated, solid mindset. A Robbie Lawler type character is a perfect example, isn't it? Somebody who, you know, his nickname says, Ruthless Robbie Lawler, because that guy would be fighting for 250 quid a fight if he wasn't in the UFC. You know, it's what he loves to do. So I think you've got to be passionate about the sport. It's something that you've got to be mentally strong. But it's a tough old game. There's not that many. I don't think, James, is there, that's been cut and have a success. Anthony Smith is somebody, isn't he? He's gone and come back and done well. Robbie Lawler, but they're the minority. They're not the majority. There's not many get cut and get a second chance.
No, I think once you fall out of favour with them, then it's your career's pretty much done. I think you're going to have to go somewhere else. But Brendan Lockton's a classic example. He's a great fighter. He never got in. He's came away and then he's looked brilliant every time I've seen him. He's fighting all over the place. And then they put him into that contender thing. He won the fight and they've still not signed the guy.
That made no sense to me as well. Well, you know, Dana's coming out there making public statements saying, you know what you're coming into on this show is to knock people out. Well, that's all great again, but again, that's affecting the quality of fighters you're signing. Because I've seen some of those contenders guys that have got signed on it, and some are fantastic and some are absolutely shocking, if I'm honest. They've gone in there and they've sparked somebody out of a level that's not a UFC level, and they're getting a 4-fight deal on the back end of it, but they're the type of guys who's going to get cut 2 fights down the line.
A bunch of the heavier guys, you'll see that way. And you can see within when they get into the actual UFC, it's like they don't belong here. And then Loughnane he got a legit opponent. I think he got a really good opponent. It was a very good fight, and the poor guy never gets signed, man. So
won every round, didn't he? He took him down and done a number on him every single round. But,
they used that takedown. He went for a takedown at the end of the 3rd round, and they sort of used that against him, saying you shouldn't be going for a takedown. But why would you've won the fight convincingly? Why would you start swinging wildly and risk everything you've just done? It's insanity.
I think a lot of it is probably down to the new owners on the UFC as well. I think it's a little bit of an entertainment theme there, isn't it? And what looks good on TV rather than the best martial artists, unfortunately.
Yeah, and something I noticed about both yourself and James have got in common. I've seen you speaking the past, Richard, about your guys at the gym. You're not. It's not that you're not a massive fan of the shit talking thing. You don't. Is it you don't like your guys doing it? The guys that it's not natural to. You prefer them to lean towards the martial arts aspect of the sport.
It's also. I think Conor came in and was absolutely off the chart with it. Chael Sonnen's before. But they're naturals at it. And there's nothing worse. I don't know if James agrees with me, but there's nothing worse than watching some youngster that's 5-0 on Cage Warriors take the mic and starts trying to be very Conor-esque on his terminology when he's talking to one of the commentators. You know when it feels natural or not. Like I got a young in there, Owen Elliott. I can't shut him up, so I don't even try. He's Chael Sonnen Mark II, but he backs it up at the same time. Plus, when you listen to him, it comes across as very natural, you know. I'd be horrified if I seen Jack there, trying to be at a press conference shouting, who the fuck is that guy? And, he'd be like, oh, come on, son. But I'm just one of the, I'm old school. It's a sport at the end of the day. I've been trying all my life to break down barriers with the image of the sport, particularly in Wales. We've had so many obstacles to get it, legitimised with the councils in the area and try and get a bit of support off people. There's nothing worse than some clown picks that microphone up and then does a lot of work. So it's just not for me. I'm not knocking anybody. It does if if it's natural for you, then great. But give me a fighter that works hard in the gym and let's just fight and do the talking. You may not earn as much money as Conor, but sometimes it's not about the money, is it?
Yeah. You say you've been at this a long time. I watched a few of your fights on YouTube. I think it was in a community centre they were in, matted. I think you'd shin guards on. It looked like it wasn't yesterday anyway.
Me, yeah.
I sorry, you, Richard.
Yeah. That would probably be Bath, I think.
Yeah, I think the one I watched, let me get my memory right, I think you almost pulled guard on the guy. I think you threatened with a guillotine and then you switched and won the fight by triangle.
Yeah, that would have been, if it was on the match, like if you said, that was the Combat Sports Open Trials, it used to be called. So they used to run an event 3 times a year. So there was no headshots, there was one fight in a round. If you won, you had 3 points. If you drawed, you had 1 point. And if you had a loss, it was 0 points. Whatever competitors, then the top 4 competitors with the highest points fought like at the grand finale at the end of the year then for the Combat Sports Open Trials title.
How pleasing is it when you think you were fighting back on that, right? And then when you're putting together a Cage Warriors Academy show and you see the crowd you've got there, I mean, that must be pleasing, surely, coming from there to there.
I say to all my lads, I mean, I remember fighting a pro bout for Grappling Strike for free, and I had a £3 ticket deal, and that's how it was, fighting in a ring. There was no proper medicals. You turn up, you do your weigh in, they go, oh yeah, he's weighed in 4k overweight, and oh yeah, all right, we'll get on with it, It's probably the same with you guys doing back in the day. You've seen it, you've been around, you're one of the most experienced competitors out there. There was no structure, there was no safety, there was no concern for the fighters,
No.
And when I started running my own gym, I was turning up to events, and I'd end up, and I'm not a confrontational guy, but I'd end up arguing with the promoters. I'd end up arguing with like a medical guy who's allowing somebody. I'm thinking, what's going on here? So I just thought I could do a better job. So I tried it out with a small sports centre, for a crowd of 450. We sold it out. We put on 17 fights, and I think that was a mix of like no headshot bouts back in the day, some semi-pros it was back then with a headshot stand-in with 4 ounce and a couple of pro fights. And I think on that first show I had Marshman, Chris Edwards and Martin all fought. I think it was all like their debuts they were fighting. But it's so great to see the growth now. And I heard James say, I think it was last night, I watched your interview with MMA UK. The amateurs today would see off 99% of the pros from 10 years ago. No problem whatsoever.
Yeah.
The level of the guys now. I got amateurs training twice a day, 6 days a week. The pros weren't doing that back in 2010. So the growth of it is brilliant, and just to see the crowds we have, the recognition, the media have got behind us, the ability to fight in Wales now on UFC Fight Pass because Cage Warriors are investing into the area. It's so pleasing for me, and it's now, particularly the lads like Marshman, Brett, Jack Phillips have got into the UFC. There's a blueprint there now for the guys to think, well, if I do want to make a living at being in the, try and get the UFC, it's a real dream now, whereas it was a pipe dream 5 years ago. Yeah,
it's what you're doing down in Wales is great. I mean, I'm not going to lie, I'm jealous. I'm jealous because I feel like the Scottish scene has kind of slowed down a wee bit. Obviously, we've been fortunate we've had the UFC here. It's crazy that you haven't had the UFC yet. What do you make of that? I don't understand why the UFC's not been to Wales yet. It's a venue more than anything, James. I mean, where will they put it? We've got the Motorpoint Arena, which will hold 5,000 people maximum. So the airport doesn't help either. There's no international flights from America into Cardiff. So it'd be a logistical nightmare. I think they'd all have to fly into London, taxi them in from London into Wales. But I think the venue is the biggest sticking point. We've got the Millennium Stadium, which is the Principality Stadium. We 90,000, or you've got the Motorpoint Arena or the Ice Arena, which will hold 4,500 and 5,000 respectively. So it's not an ideal venue for them to come to at the moment. Yeah, you need somewhere. We would never have got it until they built that hydro, and we need something like the hydro. Spot on. We need that. Yeah, because we had the Kelvin Hall and Braehead Arena and stuff like that, but that was like 5,000 people at Braehead, and they've never came for that. I think they get like 11 or 12,000 in the hydro. That's what they look for, don't they? Yeah, packed. Yeah, we fought in the hydro. Marshman fought the Canadian guy.
his name's sitting around on me. I can't think of his name off the top of my head.
Was that on the same card? Was that the second show? Was it Bisping was on the second show?
No,
or the first show.
Adam fought on there. Stevie fought on there because we were in the show at the same time. Who was the main event for that, James? I can't think off the top of my head.
So it was Bisping Talis Lettuce. Was that 2015?
Yeah, Bisping won on that one. The one we put on.
2017 was. That was when Stevie fought Felder. Danny had his debut against Tamer. I have no idea who the main event was. It couldn't have been that good. I think Joanne was a co-main event against Cynthia. I'll need to Google it, man.
I think for the Scots, the first show was a better one, wasn't it?
The first one was cool, man.
The first one was amazing. I was like, I've been to UFCs before, but going to one that close to home and the crowd, and it was outstanding.
I prefer the home. I don't know how you feel, Jay. I prefer the home shows. I just feel more comfortable. Copenhagen was all right, it was European, but like we fought in Brazil, that was a nightmare. If I never go there again, it'll be a day too soon. New York was, we've been very lucky with Jack. They've given him some good venues. We fought in Madison Square Garden. We fought in Las Vegas on International Fight Week. So we for a small and fashionable club in Wales, we've been blessed really with the opportunities we've had. But rather the London, Scotland, and the Northern Ireland show were my two favourite shows.
By the way, it was Nelson Ponzinibbio that was the main event.
Yeah, there we go.
For that one. I think the other thing as well, when you get like when it's a home show or like say the UFC come to Glasgow, I like the fallout after it because it feels like MMA is buzzing in the country.
Yeah,
and it's just you get an energy about it, and it's really good, and you see more people talking about it, and that's kind of what the UFC brings as well when they come to small countries like Scotland, and obviously when they eventually come to Wales as well, you get that knock-on effect.
That's the dream for us, is to get an event in Wales. The Principality, they're never going to sell a 90,000. You'd need a Conor McGregor or GSP main event, and they're never going to bring that to the UK. I just don't see it happening. Unless it's like a swan song fight for Conor, maybe, as he runs down his career and it's a finale fight, we might have a chance then. But until we have a stadium, an arena, there is talk of building one down in Cardiff Docks. Put an 11,000 seater arena there. If that goes there, I think they will come. Because we've got a strong MMA presence now in Wales. There's lots of teams. There's lots of guys under the radar. We could quite easily put 8 Welshmen on a UFC card in Wales. No problem at all.
And you've got a really good crop of guys coming through as well. Obviously, Jack, Brett Johns, and like you say, Oban Elliott as well. You've got a lot of really good guys coming through at the moment too. Which certainly helps. And in terms of shows down in Wales, like I was saying up in Scotland, we've not had as many shows as we once have had. Are you getting a lot of shows coming through the country?
No, we have the Cage Warriors Academy. A guy called James Wallace runs Adrenaline Fight Night, and James runs it properly. I won't put my guys on a couple of the shows in Wales, to be honest, just for the way they run. But Adrenaline is one that I'll always support. I always take my guys down to James. And that's about it, to be honest. Like I said, I'm very fortunate that I put 2 academy shows on a year. We put a strong amateur card on the main Cage Warrior shows, so they always come once or twice a year to the Ice Arena. So, I'm very fortunate that most of my amateurs I can blood at least 3 times a year on Cage Warrior shows without the other ones that we can tap into as well. Yeah.
One other thing, you obviously said you opened your own gym in 2008. I want to ask you about that. You've obviously done a wee bit of reading and stuff. So your first gym was out the back of your pub. Am I right in saying that?
No, it wasn't my pub.
No, it was you had the gym at the back of it though.
No, it was underneath it. It was a nightclub, and we had to walk through like a cellar door on the street to get into it, and it was 8 meters long, 4 meters wide. The toilets were the nightclub toilets, and they never used to clean them on a Sunday night until the Friday night. So we were using, if you can imagine, there'd be like 1,000 people that passed through this toilet, and we had access to it on a Monday to Friday. How nobody died of an infection or ringworm in there, I really don't know. There was no window. I can't ever remember mopping the mats in there. And we started off like 12 of us. And then like the following week there was 14. The following next year it was like 30 odd lads trying to fit into this small area. And to be honest, like we just hit the road running. There was 12 of us, and it was like, right, let's go out and fight. So we'd been training at a previous gym, so it weren't like we were novices. We'd all had quite a lot of competition. I just actually come back from competing in Germany a couple of months before, so that was a good experience for me as well. So I set the gym up. We started training 5 nights a week, and within, I think it was like 10 months, I ended up taking on a small unit. But yeah, it was a little cellar under a nightclub. And if we went there and trained on a Saturday night, if the nightclub was playing, the ceiling would move like this. With people were dancing up above us. So
it's crazy. It's just because James put a post up about obviously his beginnings when he first started in his first gym as well. And you've got very, very similar paths in terms of with the gyms and the progression. James, you can maybe answer this for me as well. When you look back at that first gym under the nightclub, obviously a bit grimy and that, do you look back at that with really fond memories?
I mean, what Richard saying is pretty much, it kind of does mirror us. We used to train in a function suite at one point at the back of a bar, and it was like you'd get on a Monday night and the flare would be all sticky with, hopefully it was spilt drink and maybe a blood or something. But then we were in iron halls next door to pubs, and you had drunk guys strolling in, and it's hit the nail on the head what you said earlier with Jack with the apprenticeship. It's the same thing as a coach, isn't it?
I agree.
You need to go through all that shit, man, and you see a lot of guys jumping stages and just coming in, and they'll build a brand new facility and state of the art and shit like that, and they don't last a year. Whereas anybody I know who's doing well, John Kavanagh's the exact same.
Exactly
he talks
same,
about it in his book, comes up for the shed, and then you get a wee bit better and a bit better and a bit better, and everything grows as you grow as a coach, your facility and your teaming and whatever else comes with it.
And you probably agree, James, you don't take things for granted. Like, I've got this brilliant facility now, but I don't take it for granted. I appreciate every moment of it, because I remember being in that little 8x4 room, with 20 mil mats on the floor, and we were throwing each other on our heads and getting injured every night. So
yeah,
we don't take things for granted, and I think that you see that some of the stuff we instill into our fighters are from our experiences there as well as a coach. I believe, keeping people grounded, and I remind my guys all the time, you'd have never caught back in 2008 when we started. You've got it too easy, So
yeah,
they're fond memories as well. They're fond memories.
Yeah, I enjoyed every minute. I have when we get guys coming into the gym now and maybe doing stuff, we finish a pad session and they'll throw the pads to the side. That kind of stuff does my head in it. And then maybe no flushing the toilet and stuff. And I'm like, motherfucker. I was like, go back in time with me to 2001 and train in this fucking shithole. And you'll see if you put the pads away then. But it's exactly like the journey you've had is exactly the same as mine, just building up through but it's
probably for you even before you was a coach, James. When you was competing, you were probably training in sports centres like I was. We used to hire a room in a school, and we'd like move the desks to the side, put some mats out, and we were training there back in 2002. So they do not know. And again, I think this all falls into how good the amateurs are now, because who was coaching us back in 2002, 2003? You never heard of a bloody jiu-jitsu black belt in the UK. It was a pipe dream to have a jiu-jitsu. But now they've got black belt instruction in jiu-jitsu. They've got professional instruction in boxing, in Thai boxing. They've got state-of-the-art facilities. They've got UFC fighters on the mat that these youngsters can aspire to be and train and learn good habits from around. They just do not know how lucky they are. So I'm forever bringing mine back down to earth a few times, because they do take things for granted on times. Luckily, fortunately, I got a well-rounded, grounded bunch, but that's because I've been hard on them from the minute they walked in the gym to where they are now.
Yeah, well, that's the same as my place. Like, anybody who comes in who doesn't kind of fall into line like that will not last very long.
Yeah, I agree.
Whether it's just the kind of work ethic of the place or just making sure you're helping everybody out and stuff.
Yeah, totally.
And it sort of shows both what you're saying there. It shows in the results you're getting with fighters, guys competing at the highest level, winning at the highest level as well. So it shows in that sense as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think again, we talk about the fighters and apprenticeship. Like some me and James have had a coaching apprenticeship. One of the biggest mistakes I ever made as a young coach was pushing guys into fights too soon. Yeah, come on, you've got to be competing. So now I never ever ask a fighter to fight. When they come and train with me, if they show that they're interested, then I'll guide them. I'll coach them. I'll bring them on at a pace that I think is suitable. But I hold my hands up and say that probably back in the early days when I first started, back in year 2008, 2009, I'd have fighters come in and maybe I pushed them a little bit too soon and they didn't enjoy the experience. And, I always say to everybody, there's a world champion out there that's never won a world championship because he's had the wrong experience in the gym. So it's been a good apprenticeship for me as well.
And I've heard James speaking about this in the past. Do you have a process with guys that come into the gym and want to fight? Is there certain things you're looking for before you let them actively go out there and compete? Yeah,
they all have to compete in JiuJitsu before you even entertain. So if you're a youngster with me, the program is this. So you do your JiuJitsu comps because you're getting used to the nerves, fighting different bodies that you're not familiar with in the gym. I'm a great fan of the interclubs with the no headshots, particularly for the youngsters, so they can go out there without the pressure. It's a nice controlled environment. But it's their work ethic and they train. I'm old school. If you're not ready to fight, I'm the first to tell you, you're not ready. Let's do some more jiu-jitsu. Let's keep training. Let's see where this goes. But if you're going to fight amateur MMA now, you've got to be treating it like as if you're a professional. You've got to be there every night at the gym. I'm expecting you to do some work outside of the class times. So if you said to me, I can't commit to the 5 nights a week for 8 weeks, you don't fight amateur for me, unfortunately.
Yeah, I guess there's an aspect to that as well, because both of you have said how high the level of amateur is out there, and there's plenty of high level guys that haven't debuted as an amateur yet. Yeah. Is that something you're aware of as well, that they could potentially go in there against somebody who's dedicated and very, very good, and it could be dangerous, obviously?
Yeah, and standards as a coach. I'm old fashioned as much. I still believe that when they compete, they represent me and my coaching team. Yeah. And I don't want to be embarrassed at the same time. I want them to give it, no problem with them losing, but I want them to go out, fight to the best of their ability, be fit, be able to compete for 3 rounds and give a good account of themselves. And you'll never have no arguments off me. So, that's the process I put in place.
Yeah, perfect. And James, you get anything else you want to add in?
That's similar, man. Just come in, and then the first thing I look at is, are they attending all the time? Where's their head when they're training? Because you get some guys who just come in, they sign in, get changed, and they're just there to fill an hour, and then come and ask you to fight. But then you've got the other guys, it's like deliberate practice. You can see them want to get better, asking questions, harassing you and stuff like that. And you can tell straight away the guys that are cut for it and the guys that are there because it looks kind of cool on social media. Yeah, to have a profile picture of you standing with your gloves on and shit. But I'm the same, man. The amateur guys, the rule sets are different stuff, but they're basically just novice professionals.
Yeah. And James, I say this, the objective of the game is to knock somebody out or choke them unconscious or break a bone. It's not. You're not playing at you. Do you know what I mean? So they've got to be ready and they've got to be prepared.
Yeah, 100%.
Perfect. And just before we wrap up, obviously, Fight Ireland approaching. Are you all looking forward to it? Getting out there, the heat and the travel, and obviously you'll be dealing with nose swabs and all that sort of stuff.
I'm not looking forward to that, man. The nose swab thing looks absolutely brutal. I
got told today, James, that they've changed it now. It's a throat swab because it's more indicative. So I got a big old nose, so it's been busted a few times as well. So I'm not looking forward to the nose swab, but I can put up with it with the throat, I think. Yeah, but no, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a good. It's a piece of history as well, We're going to be fortunate. We can look back in 10 years, me and James, when we sat in the pub with our pipe and our pint, and we're telling everybody, yeah, we were on that Fight Island. So I think it's nice for the fighters. It's nice for us as coaches to have that experience.
Yeah. I'm going to tell people, regardless, it was exactly like Enter the Dragon, regardless of how it is.
Yeah. James, how many guys have you got on? Is it just Danny?
Just now, Danny's on the 251 card. Stevie, I think, should be getting matched anytime soon. He was on the injured list.
Yeah.
He took himself off it, and then Shelby asked for a letter for the orthopaedic surgeon just to give him clearance to fight. So he's now got that. I actually thought they were going to make Stevie versus Dia Casey. Then that was originally on for London, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I noticed they've matched Mark's matched with someone else now. So I don't know. I'm hoping he gets on Fight Island. Just the time frame would suit us, because we've got him and Danny back in the gym now, like just the two of them. So it would suit well when we kind of get access to the rest of the team to have like proper sessions and stuff. But I'd imagine he'll get matched soon.
Yeah, we got what a card to be a part of as well. 251.
Yeah, you're very lucky on that one, mate. That's a brilliant card for Danny to be part of.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
We've had a change. I originally had Brett and Jack on the 18th, but Jack was going to fight the lad that he was matched with against in London. For whatever reason, he can't make the trip. So I won't say who, but we've had another opponent. We've had the contract through. They moved it forward though. So I got Jack. I'll be out there for a full 10 days, I'm guessing. I've got Jack fighting on the 15th on the Wednesday, and then Brett on the 18th.
That's cool.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. And like you say, it's what an experience. And obviously, not all sports are back yet, so they must be getting good at it. There must be a lot of eyeballs on the sport at the moment. So it's a really good chance for fighters to go out there and showcase their skills and sort of make a name for themselves if they don't already have that established name. But we'll just wrap up on that. So thanks very much for coming on, Richard. We really appreciate it. It's been great chatting to you, mate.
No, anytime. It's nice to do something, isn't it? Because my mind's been going. I've started doing these interviews and podcasts. It's just to kill some time, because at the moment it's driving me. I'm just hoping now we've got the Welsh Assembly are addressing the public on Friday, and I'm just hopeful that they give us some indication as to when gyms can start getting back to some normality.
Yeah. I think the best thing that happened to our podcast was the lockdown. We've been pretty active.
Yeah.
and getting the content out, but it's been really good. It takes your mind off it.
You're also getting viewers because people are bored, aren't they? So they're looking for stuff to watch and content to watch, so...
that's it, man. And obviously for everybody watching the show, as always, we appreciate it. And if you could pop onto the YouTube channel, hit that subscribe and notification button.